Good morning, y'all, and welcome to another episode of Meditations with Marini. I want to ask you guys to help me with my algorithm, and so instead of asking you at the end, I'm going to ask you if you would click like, if you would share this with a friend, and if you would subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. So, this morning I've kind of been up. It's been a long night, had a lot of things on my brain, and I was thinking about some things in reference to children, dating and children. So, I want to talk about dating as a single mother, especially from the Christian standpoint. And with that, I want to give a couple of scriptures that I would like to expound on. So Proverbs 23:22 through 25 says, "Listen to your father who gave you life, and don't despise your mother when she is old. Get the truth and never sell it. Also get wisdom, discipline, and good judgment." Good judgment, not just judgment, good judgment. "The father of godly children has cause for joy. What a pleasure to have children who are wise. So give your father and your mother joy. May she who gave you birth be happy." So it's basically saying, may the woman who has given you birth be happy. Then I also want to look at Proverbs 31 and 26. I had jotted down a couple of notes because I thought I was going to have to move much faster. And so it says, Proverbs 31 is about the who can find a virtuous woman, and I don't really want to expound on that because I'm going to come back. I got a topic for that one. That's going to be good. But this one I really want to concentrate on single parenting. This one is 31:26. "She opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue." So she's going to have wisdom and she's going to have kindness. So she has the ability to make wise decisions, and she has the ability to do it with kindness. And what made me really kind of start thinking about this is that sorry y'all, my camera I think is kind of tilted. What made me think about it is right now I have family in my home. They're in my space, and it's a good thing. God sent what I needed at the time that I needed it, as well as it's a refuge for some people in my family. And with that, there are some things that would normally be a part of my daily process and order of my home that have just been out of whack. And a portion of it has been because our schedules are so busy. We kind of like just in and out. One of the family members has some children as well, and so there are dynamics that are in place that I can feel my spirit saying, I'm gonna have to have some conversations about this. And so one thing about me, and I'm just sharing this with you because it might be something that you might want to implement if you don't have it, is I have family meetings in my home, and that's been something that's a practice of mine even when I was married. We had family meetings, and I did that because I like to be proactive and not reactive. I'm not a person that likes to react to what is happening. I like to be proactive about it. We talk about it. We talk about what the expectations are, and I handle and manage that just like it's a job. Everybody knows what their expectations are, and then everybody is able to meet them. And then when we aren't, we come back to the table, and each time that we meet, we discuss it as a family, how we can actually be better, how we can improve. And I also use that as an opportunity for my children to give impartation to me. From the time that my boys were young, I would sit them down and ask them, "What do you think about mommy? How do you feel about this?" If I, because we're not always right just because we're parents. Sometimes we have, things that are going on, and we are not making the best decisions. And so it's good to ask your children, how do they see you? It's good to get their impartation for what they see you as a parent. And so one of the things that I would do is, I would give my kids the opportunity to say, "Well, mommy, when you accused me of doing this, I really hadn't done that," or "You said that I didn't do it, and I actually had completed that task, or I had done it." And so I share that with you because depending on the practices that you already have in place, if you're interested in dating, and with my channel being based upon Christian principles, and we're talking about marriage. With that being in place, what parameters and skill sets and processes do you have in place at home now that are going to either need to be readjusted and improved if you bring someone else into your life? See you later, buddy.
See you.
Have a good day. And so one of the things that I was thinking about with these transitions that are happening is there are little things that are going on that just really kind of bother me. For instance, and I'm just using these as examples, like I don't have a model home. I do not. My house is definitely a lived-in house, and it operates that way. But one thing that I feel is that I try to keep my common areas clean and neat. At any given time, somebody could knock on the door and I might just have to spruce up, or somebody call me and say, hey Mary, I wanted to see if I could stop by. I might have to vacuum or something like that. But common areas, I like for them to stay at least presentable at most times. Every now and then you might come in and we just like off the chain, especially during like baseball season and things like that. You know, I might have to just put things where they are, and they might have to stay there for a week or two, and we just come back to it after we settle down. But I'm really picky about like the main bathroom where people come in and they have to use it. I'm really picky about things like my boys have a bad habit of leaving the pantry door open. And my issue is, if I come and I close the door, if you open the door to go in the pantry, why you didn't close it when you come out? Like, make that a part of your muscle memory. And things like leaving the laundry door open. Well, I don't really want to see the laundry. I don't want to see the washing machine and dryer. It's in a whole room by itself. So I just want you to close the door. And so if I'm seeing little things like that, and what I've done over the past few weeks is I haven't said anything, because sometimes, you know, my kids have told me, well, Mom, sometimes you just nitpick. You want everything a certain way. No, I want the things that I want a certain way. And those things are things that are typically things that are going to be associated with the commonalities of the house. Now, their bedrooms, sometimes they be a wreck, and I just go in there and I just close the door. As long as it ain't no eating going on and they ain't doing nothing that's going to cause me to have no bugs or anything like that, I'm like, if you can deal with it, I'm going to live with it. And I had to get to that place because as a mother, sometimes we can nitpick about things that just really aren't that important. And you know, I had to just get to a place where I choose my battles for what is going to be important. And so there's a difference in being a little junky and versus being nasty. And I said what I said. So, and I meant that. So, but I thought about, how do you deal with conflict when it comes to dating? If you're dating someone, and what I really was thinking about is, for those of you that might already be in solid relationships and you are dealing with, what I wrote down is, when dating, it is your responsibility to establish the respect and regard for your husband / mate / significant other. And the reason that I say that is because they are your children. If it's his children, it's his responsibility to establish that with you. And if they're your children, it's your responsibility to establish that with him. And what I have seen in some relationships where blended families have come together, because those are your kids, you're going to have a heartthrob for them that's going to be different than anybody else. But in the household where another man is going to either be the head of the home, or he's going to be the contributing factor, one of the main financial contributors to the household, the children have to understand the order of God. It is still not a change of order just because it is a change of the person who is in that position. If it's no longer their father and now it's another man that is the head of the household, he's still the head of the household. Some people not gonna like that. I like to pause and let things set in, because it's not based upon the person, it's based upon the position. And if that person is your mate and they are in a position of authority in your home, then it is your job as the mother to assure that the children who come under your leadership and under your supervision, understand that they have to follow the order. And what, like I said, what really kind of got me to it is my kids recently, like, I'm real funny about my kitchen, and I'm funny about it from a perspective of, when I go into the kitchen, if I decide to cook, it might just be a Saturday that I had the moment to go by the store, grab something, and come home and I'm going to cook. Well, when I go in the kitchen and the kitchen is dirty, I'm not getting ready to try to cook in a dirty kitchen. I'm not going to try to clean the kitchen and cook in the kitchen. But if you are with someone and you have a blended family, you have to establish those orders. So one of the things that I recently talked to my oldest son about is that, I'm expecting that instead of me putting a schedule together for when the boys are going to clean the kitchen, I'm going to let them sit down and work that out. Now, the hard part with that is that the schedules that the boys have is not like back in the day. Like, my mama had us on a schedule, and I might have had one day, my brother had a day like that. It was a rotation like that. But the difference is now most people's lives are so busy that you might not have a full rotation that way. So I feel that a portion of this needs to be that they decide, hey, if we see this in this place, then we'll do this. If we're home today and y'all are gone tomorrow, then we'll take care of it today. And children don't know to do that. You have to teach that to them. You have to teach teamwork. You have to teach support. You have to teach that we're doing this, because what happens is children grow up to be adults, and that's how you end up with adults in relationships, and they don't know how to contribute because they haven't had to contribute as a child. And my position is, I'm real funny about, I don't run the dishwasher a lot. I have one. I use it sometimes. Like, if I have a party and I use my dishes, I have real dishes that I use because I used to do more events. And so I was doing so many events that I bought a lot of my dishes. So when I have Christmas parties or celebrations at my house, typically I use my real dishes. I don't use plastic. And so when I use those dishes, I will put them in the dishwasher and run it. But most times, if I'm cooking or something in the kitchen, I'm going to clean the kitchen while I'm cooking. So if I'm baking, I'm going to bake and I'm going to be washing. Once I put the cakes in the oven, then I'm going to go and start cleaning up and moving on to the next cake. Most of the times I only do that when it's like family events going on, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and I'm baking for the family. But what I'm saying is, if you don't establish those things, then children will set their own patterns and they will begin to do their own things. And I'm coming with this because I see where I'm going to have a family meeting, because there are different families in my household now, and we all need to be on the same page for what my expectations are for the house. And that's what made me think about, if I was dating, like right now, I think that, I've had conversations with my family so they understand that I'm moving in a different direction. My youngest is 1 year out of being out of high school, and I am no longer interested in being in the everyday mom go phase. I have been that by the time my baby graduates from high school, I will have been a mother for 29 years. 29 of my 50. At that time, I'll be 56 this year. So at that time, I'll be 55, 56 when he graduates. So 29 of those 56 years, I would have been a mother. I'm in a season now where I want to be just Mariney sometimes. And so my dating looks a lot different from a mother who has small or young children at the house. And therefore, you must establish what those grounds look like. Also, I wrote, the man proves, my mama used to say, the man provides the house, but the woman controls the temperature and the temperament to establish it as a home. And basically what she used to say to us, her girls, she said, the man provides the house, but you provide it and make it a home. And she was very intentional with assuring that we, the children, followed the rules that my father had in place, but she enforced. She honestly was more of the disciplinary, and I would say that in my home I was as well. With my ex-husband, he was not my father, not my children's father. And when I met him, my youngest son was 1, and I was more of a disciplinary than he was. I used to have to actually tell him, like, you don't have to discipline them. I just need you to make sure that the things that I've asked them to do are followed. If they were already taking the trash out before you came, because one of the things that you can find is he was more of an enabler, and so I felt like he took some of the responsibility parameters away from my older son that I did not want taken away from him. I wanted him to have those responsibilities. I wanted him to know that he had to get up and cut the grass every 2 weeks. I wanted him to know that he had to take the trash out. I wanted him to know that if I washed the dishes, he had to put them up, because I was building a skill set in him to help him to understand what it's like to be in a household and contribute. Now, from a mother's standpoint, I personally don't believe that women can raise boys. And when I say can raise boys, I need you to hear me in the spirit realm. What I am saying is that a woman can teach a girl how to be a woman. But a woman cannot teach a boy how to be a man. What we can do is we can put them in environments that will help to cultivate that. We can put them around men that can help bring that out of them. And then we can give them experiences that will help them to know how they should do things. But we can't teach them how to be a man. I can't tell him what it feels like to carry the weight of a household. I can tell him what it feels like as a woman, but I can't tell him what that feels like as a man. And so I want people to hear me in that, because I know a lot of people be like, I raised my boys and this, that, and the other. I did too. I did. But I also kept my boys in very male strong. I kept them in programs that had a very strong male impartation, almost to the point that someone would like just thugged out. And I intentionally did that because I wanted them to be engulfed in what it was like to be a man. So they spent a lot of time with their coaches. They spent a lot of time with their camp leaders, counselors that were very strong male men. So, sometimes they were around the cussing. I wanted them to be around the cussing. I needed y'all to feel that. Like, what it feel like? Man, men gonna let them cuss when we not, And I tell my oldest son, I be like, I know y'all cuss. You just been not cuss around me. So, when he was younger, that's what I used to tell him. But I just wanted to go back to those two scriptures. And, when it talks about the one that said, she opens her mouth with wisdom, and with teaching of kindness is on her tongue. You can be firm, but you don't have to be nasty. It said kindness on the tongue. My boys know that when I say something, I mean it. Now, did I have to fuss and complain and things like that? Yeah, at some point you do that sometimes when you're raising kids. But I'm at a phase now, no, I say what I say, and either you do what I ask you to do, or you can put that cell phone on my nightstand. Either way it goes, it doesn't make me a difference. The choice is yours. I like to give people choices, and then that way they're making their own decision, not me making the decision for them. And so I will say, if you see those flowers that are right here over me, my oldest son and I, we had a slight little powwow about a week ago or so, maybe about a week ago. And when we did, there were some things that he thought based upon me and my personality. And one of the things that I shared with him is that I have an open door policy. I don't hide anything. Anybody that wants to talk to me about something, whether it's my children, whether it be in a relationship, whether it be my girlfriends, I have an open door policy. If you feel like I did something that was wrong, come and sit down and talk to me. And just say, hey, you did so and so and so. I didn't like it. I don't have a problem with that, because we all do things that may not be. We might do things that we don't even know that we're doing that bother someone else. But if you don't come and talk to the person, it's an unfair process to then make a judgment about them without having the conversation. Now, after we had a conversation, just know that depending on what it is that you come with, then I might say, well, I did that because of this, or I didn't know that I did that and it bothered you. And so I think talking about things, and that's where maturity and conversation comes into play, is that you be able to discuss it and talk through it. And so one of the things that I told him is that, you're old enough now that if you have a problem with me, you can come and sit down and talk to me. Like, you don't have to walk around scared and afraid. I've never created that atmosphere for you. I've always made sure that you all could talk to me about anything. And even if I don't agree with it, or you don't get the answer that you're looking for, it still doesn't mean that you can't come and talk to me. And so, he knows how much I love roses and flowers. And, he was trying to find him a little spot of apology. And I think he did pretty good, because he hit the nail right on the head. I don't typically like red roses, but I like this mixture. And it's special to me because he thought enough to go and try to fix that. And what that said to me, when it says she opens her mouth with wisdom, and the teaching of kindness is on her tongue, what it said to me is that he understood when he had made an error that he would try to fix it. And what that also says to me is that I have sown a seed in his life, that if when he starts to date or he gets somebody in his life, he knows how to then put that in practice. So mothers, as you are looking at them as being your children, you also have to look at them as they are going to be somebody's mate at some point. And in that process, what are you putting in them that is going to help them to have, that other scripture said, wisdom, discipline, and good judgment? What are you putting in them that's going to help them to have good judgment? Because they're going to watch how you are dating and how you handle things when they come up in the relationship, and how they're going to be able to handle it later on. And then this last point that I'll make is that children will always, they're going to play the field to their advantage. So if you're their mother, they're going to always try to pull on your heartstrings. And you have to make sure that I'm always the type of person that I'm for what's right. I'm not for what's popular or just who it is. I'm not going to choose your side just because you're my child. I'm going to choose your side because you were in the right at that time. And if you're in the wrong, I may stand with you and say, hey, this is what we're going to do, but I got to correct you on this right here. And so I will just say to you that as you are vetting people to date, one of the things that I have heard, honestly, recently just had a conversation with someone about, is he is living in a household with a woman. He's taking care of most of the bills, and he feels like her children are disrespectful. And so he was saying that he won't move forward with marriage because he feels like she does not take care of that component. And that's causing a small problem with them. But then I think that it could be resolved if they would get the proper counseling, and then if she's willing to make sure that she steps up to the plate. So just remember, ladies, that if you're dating while you're a single mother, it's your responsibility to establish what those grounds look like. Get in the comments, give me some feedback. Can you please click like? I would love for you to share this with a friend, and I would love for you to subscribe. You guys have a great day.